Welcome back, everyone, and this one threw me for a bit of a loop. Apparently, Richard Dawkins, the world's top atheist, says Christianity is the best defense against radical Islam. British academic Richard Dawkins has been a scientist in the public eye for many decades, but it wasn't until the publication of his 2000 book, The God Delusion, that the man became a household name. Not really. Given his harsh criticism of religion, famously referring to the God of Christianity and Judaism as arguably the most unpleasant creature in all of fiction, you wouldn't expect him to offer any praise of Christianity. But as Islam continues to spread globally at a record pace, Dawkins is reconsidering a role for Christianity. Most people seem to erroneously think that all religions are more or less the same, simply because they're all in the category of religion. Of course, no one would assume that all books or all movies are the same simply because they're in the same category of book or movie. Even if we're to concede that the liberal argument that all religions have their crazies, nowhere is violent radicalization as prevalent as Islam. Christian anti-abortion extremists have only killed 11 people in the history of legal abortion. That's what ISIS calls a bad day. Despite spending years criticizing Christianity, well-known atheist Richard Dawkins is now admitting that Christianity is much better than Islam. Dawkins even considered that Christianity may actually be our best defense against aberrant forms of religion that threaten the world, according to the Gospel Herald. Dawkins noted that Christianity, unlike Islam, does not make use of violent methods to fulfill its teachings. There are no Christians, as far as I know, blowing up buildings. I'm not aware of any Christian suicide bombers. I'm not aware of any major Christian denomination that believes the penalty for apostasy is death. He said. He admitted that he has mixed feelings concerning the decline of Christianity because the faith-based group might just be a bulwark against something else, or something worse. The atheist reasoned that he can constantly attack Christianity in the past simply because it is the religion he is most familiar with, having attended Christian schools while growing up. Even though he was born in Africa, Dawkins and his family moved to England when he was 9 years old. Dawkins realizes that people have a natural inkling toward belief in something. How else are we to explain the fact that the overwhelming majority of people throughout history, and alive today, believe in some higher power, even if they're irreligious? Rather than being anti-religion for the sake of being anti-religion, it appears that Dawkins' views have taken a shift into prioritizing his attacks on religions that do the most harm, and he knows he's more likely to dissuade people from a particular religion than to convert them to atheists. Honestly, this one, like I said, it's a bit of a shock. Dawkins has for years just outlandishly attacked Christians and Christianity as ignorant, as fools, and so on and so forth. To believe in anything but his science is to completely be ignorant of all science. I myself am a Christian. I'm also a college graduate. I've studied many years of history, political science, as well as maths and sciences and other subjects in order to graduate and earn said degree. One argument I have made in the past is that, one, we don't know what a day to a being that can create life is. So I'm not going to argue the age of the planet because, one, I'm not an archaeologist, and two, all methods of carbon dating and such are man-made. But I don't know that a supposed day to a being that could create an entire planet, an ecosystem, and the life to fill it isn't longer than our 24 hours. It's very simple. We are told that the universe just sprang into being because of the material had been condensed to the point it could not be condensed further. Well, that sounds like to me someone saying, let there be light, and that then creating the universe as we know it. I don't know. I'm not going to even speculate on something that at this point in our evolution and our mental ability to understand things cannot in any way be proven or disproven. Theorize all you wish. Learn, study all you want. We learn and study all the time or we start dying. I read constantly. I'm not someone who reads scientific journals because that is not the subject that just enthralls me. History is. I read about Colonel North, Colonel Schwarzkopf, or General Schwarzkopf, sorry, General. I read about presidential times and biographies of them. I read about ancient battles. That's what enthralls me. It's what I enjoy studying. So I do so. And as such, I know more than people who prefer to study math or science or any other subject because they choose not to study history. They choose to study their subject. I have many friends who are very brilliant when it comes to math or science or English composition and literature or music or art. They come to me with historical questions. I go to them with questions about their experience and their expertise. It seems that Dawkins is coming to the realization that he is not the end all be all of everything intellectual and academic. I'm not going to even begin to contend that he is not an expert in some fields. The man is a well respected researcher and scientist. But for him to say very poignantly and pointedly that Christianity or religion at all is to be equated with being a fool means I don't listen to him that much because he proves he's unwilling to debate those things. He says apparently he went to Christian schools as a child. Apparently he just ignored all of the teachings because a lot of those teachings, and I have taught before, and I have substitute taught for Christian schools. My history classes were identical in both. I did not teach anything but the subject I was taught or told to teach. In history, political science classes, government economics, or in other social sciences classes, I encourage debate, as you'll know from my ending, my outro. When we go to an emotional place, we're arguing. We don't learn from an argument. We learn from a debate, where both sides bring an argument and they rebut the other arguments made. Oftentimes in a debate, you have to stop and say, okay, I need to research what you've said, and the other side, I need to research what you've said, and they go to neutral corners and they read and they read and they read and research and they ask questions and they find answers. They come back to the table and they continue debating. I've had debates that have gone on for years because of this, where both sides realize I don't know what all of that is about, so I need to go back, I need to research more. And in many cases, neither side convinces the other. In other cases, one side will convince the other. In some other cases, you can't proceed because the source material is just not there at the time. But in all of those situations, I have not lost a single friend because all of them realize we are debating an intellectual topic and we're not attacking each other. And it appears Dawkins is starting to come to this realization, and I honestly hope he continues down this path. Yes, in the history of legal abortion, there have been extremists who claim to be Christians who have killed 11 people. 11 people. This is since Roe versus Wade, which is over 40 years ago. That's less than a person every 10, well, less than 3 people every 10 years. ISIS kills 3 people in a minute in some situations. We're watching them systematically slaughter Christians in Nigeria for the apostasy of being Christians. I know of no one on any corner of the Christianity argument. Okay, well, let me rephrase that. I know of no Christian who would cast their children out for becoming an atheist or a Jew or a Muslim or a Buddhist. It just wouldn't happen. They may be disappointed in them. They may try to debate them and convince them to return, but they're not going to kick them out. I hear many stories about people who grow up in a very religious home, a very Christian home, end up becoming atheists. And the stories that you hear where someone flips a table or starts an argument at Thanksgiving or Christmas, it's the one who left the faith who starts the argument. They tell people, I don't want to pray, so you can't. They tell people there is no God, so you can't celebrate this. They tell them all these things, and the people say, listen, we respect your choice to not believe, but you must respect ours. And that's where the argument starts. That's where Dawkins has been for decades, where his argument was, well, I'm an expert and you're a moron, so you must believe me. And now he appears to be turning that around. He now finally seems to accept the fact that he cannot force people to his way of thinking. Perhaps he's learned that maybe he should just be accepting of the fact that everyone is different. I personally believe he is wrong in his atheist beliefs. And I'm sure he personally believes I am wrong in my Christian faith. I doubt I would ever convince him of anything. Because up until now, all of my experience with him has been his hatred of religion. It's almost comical. If you watch the movie God's Not Dead, the very first one with Kevin Sorbo as the professor who forces students to write God is dead at the beginning of his semester, and one refuses. So he says that one day a week they will debate God. And at the very end of it, and for those who haven't seen it, this is a spoiler. So I'll give you a few seconds to hit mute or stop until you've seen it. But he gets Sorbo's character to admit he hates God and then says, how do you hate what you do not believe is even true? And that's the crux of the matter. Dawkins hates Christianity. He hates religion with a fervor that I've not seen in many people. Why would you hate something you believe is not even real? But I've talked long enough on this one. Let me know what your thoughts are. Make sure to keep the comments classy, keep them civil, so that we're having a debate, not an argument. Also, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the content, so that you can also stay up to date and with the other projects and the other topics I'm planning on. If you want to make sure and get notifications, make sure to ring the bell. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.